Greed, a fundamental human flaw, has been personified throughout history by the figure of Mammon. This essay delves into the origins, representations, and enduring influence of this demonic entity. Mammon serves as a cautionary tale embodying the destructive potential of avarice. From ancient whispers to modern depictions, Mammon's presence is pervasive. He represents the seductive power of material wealth and the dangers of unchecked desire. Understanding Mammon allows us to confront the darker aspects of human nature and the societal consequences of prioritizing profit over ethical principles. Exploring Mammon's various portrayals reveals how different cultures have grappled with the concept of greed. By analyzing his influence, we can gain insights into the psychological and societal dynamics that perpetuate avarice. This exploration is not merely an academic exercise, but a crucial reflection on the values that shape our world. By understanding Mammon, we can better understand ourselves and the forces that shape our actions. In the depths of hell, Mammon is eternally punished, surrounded by the very wealth he once coveted, now turned to molten gold that sears his flesh. According to Dante's Inferno, Mammon is found in the fourth circle of hell, where the greedy are condemned to push heavy weights in a never-ending struggle. This vivid imagery serves as a stark reminder of the ultimate consequences of unchecked greed and the moral decay it brings. Through these historical references, we see how deeply ingrained the fear of avarice and its repercussions are in human consciousness. By expanding our understanding of Mammon's characteristics and his eternal punishment, we gain a richer perspective on the timeless battle between ethical values and material desires. The name Mammon originates from the Aramaic word mammona, meaning wealth or property. Its evolution from a simple term to a demonic personification reflects the moral anxieties surrounding material possessions. In early texts, Mammon was not necessarily a demonic figure, but rather a representation of worldly riches. Over time, this association with material wealth morphed into a personification of the negative aspects of greed. The transformation of Mammon into a demonic entity highlights the perceived dangers of excessive wealth. As societies developed and economic systems became more complex, the potential for greed to undermine ethical principles became increasingly apparent. Early religious texts often warned against the dangers of prioritizing wealth over spiritual values. The association of wealth with sin and temptation contributed to the portrayal of Mammon as a malevolent force. The demonization of Mammon serves as a powerful symbol of the perceived conflict between material wealth and spiritual purity. This transformation highlights the enduring tension between material desires and spiritual aspirations. The New Testament explicitly condemns Mammon, portraying it as a rival to God. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus warns against serving both God and Mammon, highlighting the incompatibility of spiritual devotion and the pursuit of wealth. This condemnation solidified Mammon's status as a symbol of greed and worldly attachment. The biblical portrayal of Mammon emphasizes the dangers of prioritizing material possessions over spiritual values. By portraying Mammon as a false idol, the New Testament warns against the dangers of placing material possessions above God. The portrayal of Mammon in the Bible has had a profound impact on Western culture's perception of greed. The figure of Mammon serves as a constant reminder of the potential for material possessions to distract from spiritual pursuits. This message continues to resonate with contemporary audiences, reminding us of the importance of finding balance in a world increasingly dominated by material pursuits. John Milton's epic poem features Mammon as a fallen angel obsessed with the riches of heaven. Even in hell, Mammon remains fixated on material wealth, suggesting that greed transcends even the boundaries of the afterlife. His character reinforces the idea that avarice is a deeply ingrained human flaw. In Mammon's obsession with gold and precious stones highlights the corrupting influence of material possessions. His inability to let go of his desire for wealth, even in the face of eternal damnation, underscores the powerful grip of greed. Milton's portrayal reinforces the idea that avarice can blind individuals to the true value of spiritual and moral principles. By portraying Mammon as a fallen angel consumed by greed, Milton reinforces the idea that excessive desire for wealth can lead to spiritual downfall. This literary portrayal continues to resonate with contemporary audiences, reminding us of the importance of resisting the seductive allure of worldly possessions. Edmund Spenser's presents Mammon guarding a cave filled with earthly treasures. This imagery further solidifies Mammon's association with material wealth and the seductive power of riches. The cave represents the alluring yet ultimately empty promises of material possessions. In the Cave of Riches serves as a symbol of the seductive nature of greed. The glittering treasures within represent the allure of material possessions, while the cave itself symbolizes the emptiness and ultimately unsatisfying nature of pursuing wealth for its own sake. Spenser's portrayal reinforces the idea that true wealth lies in virtue and spiritual fulfillment, not in material possessions. The glittering treasures within the cave represent the temptations that can distract individuals from pursuing a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Through the imagery of Mammon's cave, Spenser explores the complex relationship between material desires and spiritual aspirations. The cave serves as a metaphor for the seductive power of greed and the potential for material possessions to corrupt the soul. Mammon's influence extends beyond Western literature and religious texts. In various cultures, figures and concepts similar to Mammon embody the negative aspects of greed and materialism. These diverse interpretations demonstrate the universality of concerns about the corrupting influence of wealth. Exploring these different cultural perspectives provides a richer understanding of the multifaceted nature of greed. Examining how different cultures personify greed reveals shared anxieties about the pursuit of material wealth. These anxieties transcend geographical boundaries and highlight the universal human struggle against the seductive power of riches. Cultural interpretations of greed often emphasize the importance of balance and moderation. These interpretations highlight the dangers of prioritizing material possessions over spiritual values, community, and ethical principles. From a psychological perspective, Mammon represents the primal human drive for acquisition and security. Greed, in its various forms, is often rooted in feelings of insecurity and a desire for control. Understanding the psychological underpinnings of greed can help us recognize and address its influence on our own behavior. Mammon's enduring presence in cultural narratives reflects the ongoing struggle against this innate human tendency. The psychological mechanisms underlying greed can be complex and multifaceted. Factors such as early childhood experiences, social conditioning, and biological predispositions can all contribute to the development of greedy tendencies. Greed can manifest in various ways, from hoarding material possessions to exploiting others for personal gain. Recognizing these underlying motivations is essential for developing effective interventions to address greedy behavior. By understanding the psychological roots of greed, we can develop strategies to cultivate a healthier relationship with material possessions. The unchecked pursuit of wealth embodied by Mammon can have devastating consequences for societies. Economic inequality, environmental degradation, and political corruption are often fueled by greed. Understanding the societal impacts of avarice is crucial for developing effective solutions to these pressing global challenges. Throughout history, the pursuit of wealth has often been a driver of conflict and exploitation. From colonial expansion to modern-day corporate greed, the desire for material gain has led to countless acts of injustice and violence. The corrosive influence of greed extends beyond economic and political spheres, impacting social relations and cultural values. The prioritization of material possessions over human connection can erode trust, empathy, and community cohesion. By recognizing the destructive potential of unchecked greed, we can work towards creating a more just and sustainable world. This involves promoting ethical principles, fostering a sense of shared responsibility, and challenging the societal structures that perpetuate avarice. In the modern era, Mammon's influence is evident in our consumer culture. Advertising and the pursuit of material possessions reflect the power of greed. Social media amplifies consumer culture's influence. Curated images of wealth can fuel envy and drive materialism. This obsession impacts mental health and well-being. Mindfulness and community can foster a healthier relationship with possessions, Recognizing Mammon's influence helps us make conscious consumption choices. Mammon, the demon of greed, symbolizes the human struggle against material wealth. From ancient texts to modern narratives, Mammon reminds us of avarice's potential to corrupt. Confronting this demon requires self-reflection and ethical commitment. Understanding greed helps us create a just and sustainable world. Mammon's story is about the potential for human transformation. Recognizing Mammon's influence, we can prioritize generosity, compassion, and stewardship.